And there it
Hello.
goes.
We're here again.
Finally.
Um,
It's
without
been some
yeah, it's been
time.
a minute.
Yeah.
Without taking too much time, I'm Juliet, and this is
And
Ashley.
I am indeed.
And today we're talking about the books that shaped us in one way or another. Um,
Yeah.
whether good or bad, it may be debatable. But,
I suppose it
uh,
depends on your opinion about how we turned out,
yeah,
in
that's
the end,
fair.
in
I mean, if you
our
look at it that way,
individual
then they were
tastes.
all bad, right? Okay, so why
Yeah.
don't you get us started?
Oh, me? Well, see, I
Yeah.
feel like you should start because you have a bigger book pile than I do.
I have, can
See,
you see my pile? This is half the pile, and it goes
yeah.
this way. There's a stack. Okay, I can
Yeah.
start us. Why not?
Yeah,
Okay.
feel free to do that because I feel like you've got more to share than me. And I think it's just largely for me because, and I'm still this type of reader, but it's like I went and looked at because I have one bookshelf that's just for books that are like my old books that I read, that have like a sentimental place that I read in when I was younger. And it's like it's mostly the same authors, just like over and over and over again. And I still read that way, where it's like I buy, everything that one writer has done. So I didn't want to bring out like 20 books that were all by the same person. So I just grabbed like one book per author.
That's fair.
So
That's fair. Okay. So like prefacing this, I feel like some of my earliest memories are books and like
uh,
reading or being read to. I remember being little and my parents, I would go into like my parents' bedroom and they would both be propped up in bed reading a book. And I don't remember saying this, but they told me that I said when I was little that I wanted to be able to read the way that they did because their eyes moved back and forth across the page so much. And like that is one like such a funny thing that I like picked up on that you're reading and it's like back and forth, back and forth.
yeah,
And I like that's what stuck to me, not the stories, but like I just wanted to be like my parents, I guess.
right.
Which is, I mean, I
I
guess
mean,
when
I
we're
I
little,
think
we
that's the
don't.
thing though. I think if you're raised in a house with readers that you tend to read because my husband was not. He was not raised in a house with people that read and he still doesn't. He still really just doesn't enjoy that. It's just not a thing that means a lot to him. But I raised our kids with, in a house with me and I was a prolific reader and all my moms and grandmas read a lot and now, they have whole bookshelves in their bedrooms that are full of books. And he's like, I don't know where this comes from. It's not like I do, it's because I spent so much time reading to them and you create that love in
Mhm.
them when they're young and it becomes a
Yeah,
family thing.
it really does because I remember being little and we would go to the library and I would come back with a stack of books, as tall as
Mm-hmm.
I was, and we would read a stack of books that size while we were there. And so my mom was, she taught like kindergarten and like she did preschool and she went to school for that. And so like she taught me how to read at a very young age. I'm not exactly sure what age I was. I was very young. I know that. I was little. But I remember she read to me all the time and she loves reading out loud and she loved reading to me and she reads to my kid now still when my kid can sit still for it because my kid is now older and
Mm-hmm.
doesn't enjoy that quite as much. But so I remember her reading to me. And this is one of my not pictured because I don't have a copy of this and I didn't think to get it at the library. But the Little House on the Prairie books, or like all of them, there's like eight or something in the regular series. I guess I'll have to put a picture up, but
Yeah.
um those she read all of them to me. All of them. And they're not small.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like after she read them to me and I was old enough to read them on my own, I read them on my own all there's like two separate series and it follows Laura and then like her daughter. And I think that is one of the ones that was like it like opened me up to the idea of there's a lot of like family, right? It's like
Right.
showing like they had a lot of hard things happen to them, but it's like their family always managed to kind of make it through. And it was like inspirational for me, not necessarily as a writer, but as a reader and like all
Mm-hmm.
of those hardships that they faced. I remember like specifically the book about Laura Ingalls Wilder's husband when he was little. He was helping his family like harvest potatoes or something, and they put a baked potato in the fire and they didn't poke it and it exploded in his eye.
No, no.
I don't know. This is one of those like weird random details that stick with you.
Hmm.
That one stuck with me, and I don't know why. But I remember like she would read before bed, or like we would just sit around and read. In that one, and then I remember this one specifically too. This is from the area. There we go.
There we go.
Patricia Polacco. I know we read a lot by this particular author, but the Keeping Quilt is so like special to me. It stuck with me because they have like bits and pieces from like wedding dresses or like baby clothes, and they stuck them into a quilt. And so like my mom, no, it's not gonna do it. You can't see it.
There we
Um,
go.
but it's like my mom reading this book to me, and like generations of women throughout the author's family, because it's kind of autobiographical.
Right.
Um, and I don't know, it like I read it to my kid, and when the like I think it's like 40th anniversary of this book came out, I gave it to my mom for her birthday, and it's like been a whole thing, and it just I don't know, it's so nice. Like I remember this. I don't remember much from being little, but I remember
Right.
reading this book.
Yeah. I should have grabbed. I wouldn't know why I wasn't thinking books from like, you know, that far back, but we
Yeah.
have one that like I know my mom read to me and then I read to my kids and we just got a copy of it for my one of our close friends had a baby. And I was like, we just that's just kind of become a thing. But it's like a Sesame Street book called There's a Monster at the End of This Book. And my mom would always do it with all the voices and stuff. So like you gotta pretend to be Grover and yeah, I love the generational children's books that get passed down. That's always really sweet.
Yeah, I love that one. And like, this is generational. This is a book about generational
Yes.
traditions, and it's a generational traditional book, And it like, I love the monster at the end of this book, though. My mother-in-law, I think, got that for my kid after having read it to my husband. So we have that.
Yeah.
Say, I don't remember reading it when I was little, but they have that, and so it's like special for us as well. And then, so my dad was also a reader. And he didn't read it aloud to me as much as my mom did, but we did like specifically this book, or this is actually a trilogy of books that I have. This is my copy from when I was like somewhere between like 8 and 12. I'm not
Mhm.
100% sure. I might have been about 10. But this is the My Side of the Mountain trilogy by Jean Craighead George. And I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Mm-mm.
It's a little boy, and he's like, I don't know how old he is. He's like 12, I think. But he has a big family, and he like runs away to live in the woods, and he finds a hollow tree and like lives in the tree. Jean Craighead George also wrote Julie of the Bolts. Read, I don't know, sort of like outdoorsy books, but
Right.
like less graphic and scary than Hatchet. Because
Right.
Hatchet scarred me for life. That
Yeah,
book
I
was
was
formative for me in a bad way.
I was just thinking I was like, oh yeah, that was the one that was definitely formative from around that time period. But I was thinking the reason I don't have copies of those ones to hold up and show is because they're all in my kids' bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're the
Yeah.
ones that have them, and I was didn't even think about those ones.
Yeah, and so I remember my dad read this to me, and like it's long, and it took us a long time to get through. Um, but my dad didn't read to me quite as much as my mom did because he traveled a lot, and so this is one of those like I really remember, and I really wanted to read it to my kid, but there's no interest in this type of story in our
Right.
household currently. But I think my husband also read this book. But this is like the whole, I think the idea of the adventure and being self-sufficient as a child was very appealing to me.
Right.
And I don't think it was formative in that it made me like want to run away, but I loved the idea of being able to do things, I guess, for yourself. And it's not like that it stuck with me in that way. Like I did that, but it's like that sounds really cool, and I kind of wish that I could do that. And one more, as far as like my parents being formative, and I think my love of audiobooks also comes from my dad. My mom listens to them as well, but every time we would go somewhere, my dad would listen to an audiobook. And I heard a lot of audiobooks that were probably not age appropriate. And not that they were like inappropriate, like adultly. Um, but they just about adults and like with a little bit of violence and stuff. But I listened to so much Louis L'Amour,
Uh,
which I think is where my love of purple prose comes from.
right.
My prose does not tend to be that purple. I wish it could be, but I don't. I'm not that kind of a writer. But I love his descriptions and like the places that he takes you to. And I listened to many Louis L'Amour books, and that's probably where my love of the cowboy romance came from. Honestly, is all of the like cowboy books that I listened to when I was far too young to be listening to them. Um, but this in particular, the Sackett family and with Louis L'Amour, and so this is where my cowboy thing came from, I think.
Right.
Okay, so moving on to books that I like actually read myself, and I'm gonna go through these quickly because it's a lot. But I'm not gonna go into in depth of all of them.
Right.
So I don't know if you read American Girl. Did you read
I
American
don't think
Girl?
so. I
Okay,
don't think so.
American Girl was formative for me in that I read all of them
Mm-hmm.
multiple times. But when I was a kid, there weren't that many out. Now there are just like dozens of characters, right, with them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Specifically, I would get all of them from the library, and these are the new. This is what they looked like a long time ago.
Right.
They don't look like that now. They look different, and like this is the middle, but they look even different now. But I read so many of them. Like these specifically, I read Josefina, Addy, and Samantha, and I think there were like two others when I was like 10.
Okay.
Um, but it was like these girls, then they always learned a lesson, but they were like having adventures and doing cool things. And I was like, God, I want to do something cool. I want to do like, I want to learn something, or I want to go out on a boat and like find a mystery to solve, or like, and it's just like, I think I always kind of search for that in reading, like
Yeah.
after reading these, and they're good, like female characters, but they weren't like constantly being rescued, and they weren't like constantly leaning on a boy to help them, and I think that I don't know, all of them, I read all of the ones that existed. These two, these are just like pure escapism. These were my first like escapist, I think, books, even though like some of them were kind of intense with the things that happened to them, particularly
Mm-hmm.
because we all know what happened to Marie Antoinette, right?
Right.
Um, but it was like this is how I first, I think, experienced that like lavish, oh, I'm reading this. Like, yes, it's got the historical aspect, and a lot of the historical stuff is accurate, but it's like, this is how princesses lived, and I want to read about this, like, escapist, really cool stuff. I mean, well, Elizabeth the First too, I guess that was a good one, right? That one at least ends nicely.
Yeah.
And so like they were so I don't know, like it's just formative. And I've talked to a bunch of people, like people my age, and it's like, oh yeah, I've read those all the time. Like, whatever happened to those? Why are they not still a thing? So it is interesting. I read all three of these. Like, I got these ones specifically because these are the ones that I reread so many
Mm.
times. So Jahanara, Elizabeth the First, and then Marie Antoinette, I reread and reread and reread and reread them. And then the same goes for my next ones too. And I read there were like 100 then, but there are hundreds now. Is Boxcar Children.
Mm.
Um, and I think this is where like my whole mystery there I love it when anything I read has some aspect of that in it. But
Yeah.
I would come home with a stack of these and be done with them like by the time I got home. Like we would leave the library and I would just like and eat them like candy because they were so fun. But there's always that like I mean like I guess there's like a theme here of like family dynamics, right? Because it's a family
Mm.
and they do everything together, but they're always like learning and traveling, and even that their grandfather is rich, they didn't necessarily like rely on that.
Right.
Um, and so like these are all they all like stuck with me. Okay. We can take a break from me and go to you now because I have my other stack. So
What's
it's
in
your
your
turn.
what kind of books are in your other stack?
These are from my like very young days, and my next
Uh,
stack is my like
like
middle and
your
high school. So
sure, sure, yeah.
it's like this book in particular that does not want to hear about. I don't know why, because like you're fine now.
Hmm. Well, we should just let you finish
I don't
doing
want to talk about
yours.
me.
And then we can do, I don't know, we just need to make them like a two-part. We're
Maybe
doing
we can
books that
do
are
that.
formative, and we'll do yours this time, and then next time we can do mine as a separate one. And I
Like it's
can,
literally fine again. It's just this, like when you're talking about freaking Nora Roberts. Zoom doesn't like Nora Roberts, I guess. I don't know. It's
I
really
guess,
weird.
I don't know what else to do.
I don't
They
either.
just skip me for this time.
So since we are having technical difficulties, I will continue and we'll move on to my high school stack.
Yes.
Okay. Starting strong. I think I read this in seventh or eighth grade. This is not a book that I would ever recommend to anybody because it is hard. It's a lot, but this is like one of the first, I guess, serious books that I remember reading. And it was one of those, it's like you feel, you're reading and you feel kind of like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. And you're reading it and you're just kind
Uh,
of like panicky the whole time because you kind of can tell what's coming, but you're also like, and you get there and it's just sort of like a
like
gut
a gut
punch.
punch. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, uh, yeah. I didn't remember like that kind of an emotional response. I don't think this is one of the first books that I ever read that had that like intensity of feeling and you're reading it and you're like feeling all of that comes with it.
All right.
This was where I think required reading for seventh or eighth grade. I don't know. Um, but yeah, it's very good. It's not happy, and I'm not going to recommend it for anybody to read because I don't think enjoying it is like
It's
I
not
don't
quite
think
the right word.
enjoyment is what happened here, but
Yeah.
like it
But
I
it sticks with
definitely
you.
but it sticks with you. That's it
Yeah.
like it's stuck and it's like I think like just that like visceral feeling that stuck. Okay. This is one of the first books that I remember um this is my first like hardcore, oh my God, I need this relationship to happen
Mm.
right the fuck now. And I don't know if you have read any Cassandra Clare.
Mm-mm.
But Cassandra Clare, much like us, got her start in fan fiction. Apparently, I found this out way after the fact. There was a little bit of controversy around it, but I didn't know
Mm.
that at the time because I remember reading this. I think I was 17, 16 or 17, and I worked at the library. And I saw it and I was like, oh, this sounds kind of interesting. And dude descended from angels. Let me read it. And this is one of the first books that I remember. Okay, you see how thick this is.
Mhm.
I read this in almost one sitting in one day. I remember we had to go to dinner and then I like took it in the car with me and I brought it back and I just like laid across my bed, like devouring this book. And this is the first, I probably had read other books with like relationships that I wanted to happen, but I was like intent on these people getting together, which is actually kind of funny because there's a fake out in the second book and they are, for like a second, they think they're brother and sister. And I was like, oh my
Mhm.
God, but they're
Oh
not.
no.
So it's fine. But like I got there and I was like, oh, what? So there's a lot of like visceral reaction in this entire series and like all of her books. And she's like, she just keeps punching you while you're reading, but you're
Mhm.
kind of enjoying it anyway.
You're gonna suffer,
So
but you're gonna have a
it
good
very
time.
much has that like fanficky gut punch.
Mhm.
Everything keeps happening, everything. And so I think that's probably why I enjoy fic so much now, is because I'm already used to it.
All right.
I apparently did not grab Divergent or the Chronicles of Narnia off my shelf, but they're like, just imagine them all three side by side.
Sure.
But my like the Chronicles of Narnia is one of the first fantasy books that I ever read that had real magic in it.
Mhm.
Because for the first like 14 years of my life, I was not allowed to read books with magic because of the culty religion that we were in. And that's a
Mhm.
whole nother story for not this.
Not today.
But yeah, so Chronicles of Narnia kind of like got me into fantasy. But we'll get like what got me really into fantasy in a minute, but we're not there yet. So imagine Divergent here with this. More gut punch, but Divergent and Hunger Games were like girls are the heroes and yes their world is really shitty but they are the ones who it's like a 17-year-old girl, right? Like as reading this as a 17-year-old girl, you feel like the world is on your shoulders, even if it's not. You know, teenagers,
Yeah.
we all have that, like, God, nobody understands me. And so it felt very much like they're still 17 and they still have 17-year-old problems in addition to having to save the world, right? And
Right.
so it felt very, I don't know, not that I felt seen, but like, I don't know, just really relatable, along
Yeah, I was
with
gonna say
Bella from
relatable.
Twilight, because I'm pretty sure I was Bella. I fell a lot, like a
Hmm.
lot. Um, People are like, nobody falls like Bella. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is a neurodivergent girly thing, right? Like that was not a term that existed back then, I don't think. But like for those of us who are, you get it, right? Like we're all
Yeah.
kind of weird. We all kind of sit in the corner and read a lot. And oh my God, the pretty boy likes us. Wow. And
I
so
mean,
like
it's absolutely wish fulfillment for awkward
so
teenage
many of us,
girl.
yeah.
I mean, I
And it
fell
was,
down a flight of stairs once and face first into a wall, and there were witnesses, you know. So yeah, I think definitely for the awkward girls amongst us, it was like, yeah, totally vibe with whatever she's got going on there.
yeah, exactly. And I felt so much like her. And not that I wanted a vampire boyfriend, because honestly, in my younger days, I was very much Team Jacob. And
Hmm.
now as an adult, and now that I reread Twilight as an adult, first of all, I didn't love it ironically then. I love it ironically now. Uh, but I'm Team Charlie now. Like if we're gonna have to pick a man in the Twilight series, it's definitely Charlie.
I mean,
Um,
we've moved on to age appropriate options,
that's
but
right, age appropriate. Yes, okay. The Lightning Thief, I feel like was formative for everybody who read it. Like I'm not gonna get too in depth in that one. I think I have four more and then I'll be done. Okay. This is the first adult book that I read. Um, just like I was still a teenager, but this is the first like book that was not intended for children. It is, of
right,
course, it's a Star Wars book because of course it is. It's me. It's
of
Star
course.
Wars. This is not canon anymore, unfortunately, because this is a Legends book.
Hmm.
But there is an aspect of romance in this, and it's very like adventure-y, and I don't really know why this one stuck with me. Maybe it's just because it was Han Solo, and Han Solo was my first crush.
Maybe.
Because I've loved him since I was 7, and I don't think that's ever gonna change.
Hmm.
Um, but it like it's just wild, and if you ever actually have a chance to read it, I definitely suggest it. And I definitely recommend reading all of the legends that you can because I love it. But like this one, there's like drugs and he's like infiltrating this. It's weird. It's all just weird. But it's really good and it like sticks with me. And there's like I remember random bits and pieces. I just go around my day. And I'm like, oh yeah, that Han Solo book. And so like it sticks with me. And
I have so many books like that where, and I think that's the when we moved, like we made a big move just like over a decade ago where we moved from Oklahoma to Texas, and it was like kind of an emergency, and I ended up not being able to bring a lot of stuff with me, and one of the things that we were not able to bring was most of my books, and you know, having to rebuild my library sort of from the ground up. Those are the ones that I was like, oh, I have to repurchase those, right? It's the books that you're just kind of going about your day, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, remember that one scene from that one book you read when you were 14? It's like, am I ever going to read it again? Probably not. But you have to have the book because it just feels like so much a part of somehow making you who you are that it feels not normal to not own it.
yes, yes, exactly. Okay, that actually is exactly what happened with Eragon. Eragon is the first. I actually think I read Lord of the Rings before I read Eragon, but Eragon is the first fantasy book that made me realize how much I love fantasy.
Mm.
And I thought that I had lost it when I moved coincidentally to Oklahoma, not from Oklahoma. I thought that I had lost like 2 or 3 entire boxes of books and I'm still not entirely sure where some of them went. Some of them ended up still being at my parents' house, but in like a weird place. So we found them. But I had to get new copies of the Inheritance Cycle because I was like, I can't live without it. And I have reread Aragon even since I was, an adult, and it still holds up. Like the first one, you can tell what his influences are, but it's still like this is my first dragon book. Like I love dragon books
Right.
now, but it's like this is my first one and it's so it just sticks with me. And there are so many things that I just love about this. And this is another one though that the ship did not really happen, but I really am like, oh my God, can you please just kiss? Like just do it. Oh my God, oh my God. But obviously this is not that kind of book, but still it's like you wish. Okay. Now, these are all of my like prefrontal cortex books. And these are my post. I have two post frontal cortex books. Is that the right word? I feel like I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah,
And
this is
gosh,
these are your post having an adult brain
post
books.
adult brain.
Yeah.
My brain is cooked. And I read them. Actually, I think I read this one when I was 24, so I wasn't quite cooked yet, but it was close enough that we're going to count it. This, the reason that this is formative for me is I read this when I was a young adult librarian. This is a young adult book, and it's like if Doctor Who had more kissing,
Mhm.
basically. If Doctor Who was a teenage girl and there was like a romance aspect to it. But the reason that this is formative for me is that this is the book that made me realize that I wanted to write a book.
Right.
This trilogy is the book that made me realize I wanted to write a book. And I cried on Myra McIntyre. She was the reason that I read the whole reason that I read this book. I probably would have read it if I had come across it, but I came across it because Myra McIntyre was speaking at a conference that I was attending, and I was like, I'm going to her session. I want to read her books, so I read them really, really quickly. I bought them on Amazon, which was not a thing that I ever did at that time. Like I did not buy books online. I mean, granted, this was a long time ago, but
Right.
and so I read that, and I like talked to her after her session, and I was like, I want to write a book, and I didn't, and I just like cried on her, and she was like, "It's okay," and but she had talked about her. In addition to like making me realize I wanted to write a book, she talked openly about her depression and a lot of her other mental health struggles, and it was not something that I had ever heard anyone talk about publicly, right? And it made me feel a little bit less alone in that because it's not something that people talk about. It's definitely not then, maybe more so now, but not as much then. And then so I had all her books and she signed them all for me. But in one of them she wrote, um, write the book. And she follows me on Instagram now, and she has no clue who I am, and she doesn't know that like she inspired me, and I don't know how to tell her, but
Yeah.
yeah. And so that was just like that one, it stuck with me, and I was like, I just love it so much. And now the last one is not actually a book, and this not this book, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
But Thea is the reason that I wrote a book, and it's because she inspired me to start writing my Star Wars fic. The one that actually made me want to write is the Sword of the Jedi that she wrote, and but this is what I have of hers because I don't actually have Sword of the Jedi bound, and it's close
Right.
enough, honestly. It's the same characters, different font. It's fine.
Yeah.
And this just like it just got me to where I am, and I'm just grateful, but her writing is so beautiful and inspirational, and it just made me like feel like I was there in a way that not a lot of like there are books that do that, but not all of them, and certainly not the way that this one did. And so yes. Now that we have taken a journey, you're working again. Like literally, what the hell? It's been working fine since I started yapping.
It does
Like
not like it
why?
when I'm speaking at all. And it may just be because I'm talking and your internet's well, being uncooperative today.
I don't know.
That's okay. Because instead of being one um video, we're gonna make two. And now that I've seen that we're going on a full journey, I will go grab some more books and do a more of a journey for mine. So
Yeah, well, more content, right? That
yes,
works.
well, more content. I'm never gonna turn my nose up at more content.
Content? Eh. I hate the word content now. It makes me want to throw up.
That's because it's horrible. It really, I mean, and I say that as somebody who like fully understands that I have to be a content creator in order to sell books, but the
Hmm.
actual process of making content is super tiring, and
Yes.
I would never have imagined myself as being a content creator. This is a total like side quest thing that I have had to been forced to do. in order
Yes.
to be a successful author, which I would like to be someday. So,
Hmm. Okay, really quick, since we've got like a minute left. Have you read any of the ones like that are we gonna have like completely different lists? Do we have any overlap in our list?
I don't think we're gonna have overlap. Like, I
That's
mean,
really
I
cool.
have read Twilight and stuff,
Well,
and I mean, I enjoyed it, but I don't think we're gonna have like the same book. So I will make sure to pull, but similar categories. Now that I've seen what you've got going on, I'll pull some childhood books and some of them I don't actually think I have, so I might have to do the picture here thing. But I'll make a good list and go over some stuff because I do think, as even the fandom stuff, it's like yeah, pulling from the same fandom, but it's like different books.
that's cool. I love that. Okay.
Yeah,
Yay. Okay, so thank you for joining us for apparently part one of
apparently.
Books That Shaped Us. And we'll see you next
Yes,
time.
very good.
Bye.
Bye.